The bank statement trembled in Sarah's hands, numbers screaming a truth too cruel to accept. 20 years of marriage and Mark had drained their life savings $87,000 without a word. Sarah stood in their modest kitchen, the hum of the fridge amplifying the silence between her and the man she thought she knew. The clock ticked past midnight, and the weight of betrayal pressed against her chest. She'd found the papers by accident, tucked inside an old shoebox under the bed. Bank statements, loan agreements, and a name she didn't recognize. Her heart raced as she pieced together the puzzle. Mark had not only emptied their joint account, but had taken out a loan with a 22% interest rate, a financial death sentence for their family. "Mark," she said, her voice steady but laced with fury, "explain this. Now." He sat across from her, eyes fixed on the floor, his usual confidence replaced by a slump of defeat. Mark, the charming optimist who'd convinced her to dream big when they were young, now looked like a stranger. "Sarah, I didn't want you to find out like this." "Find out what?" she snapped, tossing the papers onto the table. They scattered like leaves in a storm, each one a shard of their shared future. Mark's hand shook as he ran them through his thinning hair. "It's for Ethan," he whispered. "Ethan, their son." The name hit Sarah like a punch, unraveling her anger into confusion. Ethan was 19, away at college, chasing a degree in engineering. He was their pride, their reason for every late night and skipped vacation. But why would Mark risk everything for him? "Start talking," Sarah demanded, her voice cracking. Mark's story came in fragments, each one heavier than the last. 2 years ago, Ethan had come home for spring break, pale and withdrawn. He'd confessed to Mark that he'd gotten involved with the wrong crowd at school, friends who partied too hard, dabbled in things they shouldn't. One night, after too many drinks, Ethan had gotten behind the wheel. The crash wasn't fatal, thank God, but it left a young woman, Mia, with a shattered leg and a future in physical therapy. Sarah's breath caught. Why didn't he tell me? He was ascending. Sarah descended into a whirlwind of emotions: anger at Mark's secrecy, guilt for not seeing Ethan's pain, and a gnawing fear for their future. How could she forgive Mark for hiding this? How could she trust him again? Yet, as she looked at him, broken and pleading, she saw the man who'd carried her through their darkest days, who'd worked 2 jobs to keep them afloat when Ethan was born. His mistake was colossal, but his heart had been in the right place. The days that followed were a storm of their own. Sarah demanded Ethan come home to explain himself. When he arrived, his eyes were red, his voice barely above a whisper. "I was scared, Mom. I didn't want you to hate me." Sarah's heart broke for her son, but the weight of their financial ruin loomed large. She and Mark sat down with a financial advisor, who laid out the grim reality. The loan's interest was eating them alive. They'd need to sell the house or take on more debt to survive. Sarah felt trapped, torn between protecting her family and punishing the mistakes that had brought them here. In the end, they chose to fight together. They sold the house, downsized to a small apartment, and started rebuilding. It wasn't easy. Sarah and Mark argued, cried, and rebuilt trust one honest conversation at a time. Ethan took a semester off to work, contributing what he could. Mia, the girl from the accident, reached out one day, not with anger but with forgiveness, thanking them for covering her medical bills. It was a small light in the darkness, a reminder that second chances exist. The road ahead was long, but Sarah learned that family wasn't about perfection, it was about showing up, even when it hurt. Mark's secret had nearly destroyed them, but it also forced them to face their flaws, to choose love over resentment. They weren't the same family they'd been, but they were still a family. What would you do in Sarah's place? Was Mark's silence a betrayal too deep to forgive? Or was his sacrifice for Ethan worth the cost? Share your thoughts on trust, sacrifice, and the price of secrets.